This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Foundation, Larry Burns.
Well, thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Caring for Kids, July edition. Hope everyone is having a great summer so far and staying healthy and safe in this COVID-19 environment. Tonight, we have a great show, starting off with Paul W. Smith, famed WJR radio host and king of talk radio here in Detroit and beyond. Patrick Plitkowski, the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club in Grand Rapids, and Laura Graneman, who is vice president of the Quicken Loans Community Fund. It's all coming up next right here on Caring for Kids on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
And it's my great delight to start off with my friend, Paul W. Smith. Paul, throughout his robust career, has more than 50 years. He started very young. As a radio and television host, Emmy Award-winning Paul has been dubbed by the Wall Street Journal as the king of talk radio in Detroit. And I certainly agree. Paul's broadcasting career began in his hometown of Monroe, Michigan, while he was still in high school, eventually moving into other territories, including Toledo, where I first met him, Detroit, New York City, and Philadelphia, until he came back to his beloved Detroit in 1986. In addition to being named Best Morning Show Broadcast Personality by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, Paul W. was also inducted into the prestigious Hall of Fame, as well as the National Radio Hall of Fame in 2011. He was proudly named a Michigander of the Year by the Detroit News. Paul and his lovely wife, Kim, are also greatly enthusiastic about philanthropy, working with numerous charities and good causes over the years. Together, they have helped raise, get this, help raise more than $200 million overall. Paul W. and Kim have developed several initiatives on their own to support the health and well-being of children in Detroit and beyond, including the Paul W. Smith Charities, which they established through the Children's Foundation. So, Paul, welcome to Caring for Kids.
I am so sorry to hear that he has passed away. I had no idea that he was even sick. Oh, wait a minute. That's about me.
That is
I'm
about
still
you.
alive.
Yes,
that
you
sounded
are...
like you were
No.
you were giving my life story that I passed away.
No,
Thank God I'm alive.
You're very much alive. I'm giving your life story because it deserves to be told, and you're still creating wonderful things with your charity. So you're very much alive.
Well, with your help, Larry Burns, when you stepped in and said you were offering the Children's Foundation and the machine that you have put together to help people, it's helped our charities and our golf tournament tremendously as we approach our 17th annual get-together coming up on August 3rd, Monday, August 3rd at the Detroit Golf Club. All systems go so far, and that's all good news. But we really appreciate your help and Campbell and Company's help and all of that because you know, it's a lot of work putting these things together, and you guys are doing all the heavy lifting, and I really appreciate it.
Well, it's our pleasure, and you're certainly doing the outreach to the sponsors, and so they're very much committed to you and to what you're doing with the... And I'll mention the charities just so people remember. It would be the Children's Center. It would be Variety Detroit and Detroit PAL, and then lastly, the Children's Foundation. So the four charities that you are supporting right now are greatly appreciative of what you're doing. So let me ask you this, Paul. We're talking to Paul W. Smith from WJR. COVID-19, you know, we started this journey in mid-March. Your show on WJR is going strong. I listened to it this morning. And so tell me how you've adjusted and what changes have you had to make putting on your daily show?
Well, I'll tell you what happened was, because I think radio is extremely important at a time like this for information, for news, for entertainment, and for companionship, frankly, as we all hunker down. For me, the first 60 days, I was on the air every day, including Saturday and Sunday. I had a program each day because I felt it was important to be there for our listeners. So 60 days. I was worn out. I took a couple of days off to recoup and then right back at it again. We are all broadcasting from home. which offers its own challenges as well as some good things. I'm quite used to it, and I enjoy not having to get in the car and drive and face traffic first thing in the morning. And I always get a kick out of people who say, well, at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's no traffic. I invite you to be out there. Well, maybe not right now with what's going on, but during regular times, there's plenty of traffic. But here I am sitting in my home office overseeing a beautiful golf course, which, by the way, I just watched an American eagle, a bald eagle, fly by over the golf course just as we're speaking. That's an unexpected joy and pleasure of being able to do the show from home.
Yeah, and it sounds great.
We've all been doing that. Well, it does.
It sounds great, and I know that you've been keeping your listeners up to date on what's going on in the state, and it seems like you talk to the governor almost every other day, so that's helpful to, at least to me and to others, I'm sure.
Well, it's helpful that she makes herself available. And obviously, we appreciate it. She should be. We're talking to her constituents on our program rather than the national scene. But she's not been hiding by any stretch of the imagination. And you don't have to agree with everything she does or is doing. I wouldn't want to be in that position, that's for sure.
Yeah, tough position to be into. So we talked briefly about the golf outing, 17th Annual Detroit Golf Club, supporting the Paul W. Smith Charities. And in this environment, a lot of events, as you know, because you MC many of them, have been postponed, canceled. We're still very much on. We're going to make some adjustments with food and some of the other things that we need to do, but we're very much on. How have you felt and how have you seen the sponsors respond when you ask them, since you do most of the asking?
We have, first of all, overall, some of the most generous people in the world living within the sound of our voice right now, Larry. And the sponsors for the Paul W. Smith Classic, our 17th annual one, have just stepped up amazingly. The most difficult part is for me to call and ask for their help again, knowing how hard it's been for them, how hard it's been for these people who, in many cases, haven't been able to open, haven't been able to have business, haven't been able to have revenue. And yet they step up and they make their contributions, they buy their sponsorships, and I couldn't be more proud or happier for them. It is a struggle for everyone, small, medium, or large in the business world. And yet they understand that the Children's Center, Detroit PAL, the Police Athletic League, Variety Detroit, the Children's Charity, the Children's Foundation, all have a job to continue to do under these way less than ideal conditions. Those kids, those 55,000 plus kids, need our help still. And our sponsors know we can't offer that help without their help. And so they step up. That is not to say that everyone's coming back. I hope as many will come back, and they still have time to come back. And I hope new people will join us. And it's easy to go to paulwsmithgolf.com, paulwsmithgolf.com, and you can see all the different ways as presenting sponsors, golf cart sponsors, registration sponsors, clubhouse sponsors. The list goes on and on all the way down to the lowest sponsorship, still very important, and that would be a whole sponsor for just $5,000 of a donation that gets you 4 playing spots as well as a spot in the program, signage, etc. So you're right up there with the big dogs, and you're only investing $5,000. It's a great deal. And by the way, Larry, as you and I have discussed, I have not raised the price for any of these sponsorships in 17 years.
Wow. I didn't know it was all 17 years.
All 17 years, it's been the same amount to be these various levels of sponsorship, and yet for years, we would make more money each year. A lot of that would be, for example, Mark Snethkamp at the awards dinner, finding out we were $1,000 short of being over the year before, he'd throw in another $1,000. I mean, things like that happen with people stepping up and doing extra special things because they know how important it is to help these kids all the time. And then you've really put a good push on for this Paul W. Smith Caring for Kids, an opportunity for people who either don't like golf, don't play golf, don't participate in golf. And by the way, there are a number of companies that don't give to charities that are having a golf outing because they don't want to have to go through the 30, 40, 50, 60, 75 golf outings they're hit up on every year. So they make a decision. Well, we're not supporting golf outings because there are too many of them, and we don't want to have to pick and choose and then turn some people down and go. So this, your Paul W. Smith Caring for Kids, gives people an opportunity to donate without being involved in golf at all.
Absolutely.
So that's a pretty brilliant idea on your part.
Well, and it allows us to reach out to people, as you mentioned, that aren't going to play in a golf outing via direct mail, via in-person, be it on the telephone, and throughout the year. So this will go on throughout the year at Paul W. Smith Caring for Kids Club. So it's a club with a membership and some things that go along with that membership as well. So we're excited to launch that with you and Kim, and we're headed for great things as it relates to that. So,
and I believe you get to that as easily as the other website.
Same website,
address.
Yep, same website.
Paul W. Smith Golf, all one word, paulwsmithgolf.com.
Yes.
And you can find that, the Paul W. Smith Caring for Kids Club, and be a part of that as well. We welcome and, frankly, we need all the help and support we can get. It's an especially trying and troubling year for our charities and for our ability to raise money for those charities. So I, again, salute those that are already stepped up or have already stepped up and hope that more will before August 3rd.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. And let me ask you this. Are you still sporting your beard?
I am.
It looks very nice.
I am. I'll get closer to the microphone.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah. It's very nice. Very handsome.
I'm in training to be one of Santa's helpers by December.
Well, say hello to lovely Kim.
I will do that. And you do the same with Miss Judy. And we thank you for all your help in all the ways you help all the different charities. How many charities are you involved with? How many partners
We now have 100 partners.
Oh!
100. 100.
100 partners. Astonishing. Good for you.
Yeah, we're on the move.
God bless you, Larry Burns.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to your team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul W. Smith. And coming up next, we're going to have Patrick Plitkowski, who is doing amazing work in Grand Rapids, Michigan, through the Boys and Girls Club. So that's coming up next right here on WJR on Caring for Kids.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Foundation.
And right now, we're going to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we're going to talk to Patrick Plitkowski. Patrick is the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Grand Rapids, a role he has held since March of 2019. Patrick earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, and his master's degree from the University of Illinois, Urbana. He was recruited in 2012 by Van Andel Institute in Grand Rapids to lead their fundraising initiatives as Director of Development, and prior to that, he was with the American Institute for Cancer Research in our nation's capital. And so Patrick, welcome to Caring for Kids. Tell us about how the Boys and Girls Club in Grand Rapids has been impacted by COVID-19. And I'm very familiar with Boys and Girls Club since I was on the board of the Toledo version for many years. And so how have you been able to continue to provide programs to your members? How's it going?
Sure. Thanks, Larry. It's going pretty well, all things considered. I just got to say, I didn't realize you had been on the board in Toledo. That's a very strong Boys and Girls Club.
It is.
A real great model.
Yeah, it is.
Of us.
Yep.
So yeah, we've it's not been easy, of course, like all agencies and like all people, frankly, everybody.
Right.
There's been a whole lot of just trying to react to the ever-changing situations and then continuing to try and do our best to see into the future, which is difficult. But we I think a lot of all Boys and Girls Clubs in Michigan shut down along with the schools back in March 16th. And we were fortunate in that we were able to immediately continue a very important aspect of what we do, which is providing a nightly hot dinner and snacks for the kids. It might seem like a very simple thing, but a lot of the kids we serve are really rely not only on our meals but also on food through school. So a lot of our families have 2 or 3 kids that might be in the club 5 nights a week, and so we understood right away that it would be important for us to continue to be able to provide that not only for the kids' health but also for the family's budget and bottom line. So
yeah, absolutely. And the Children's Foundation has provided a number of emergency grants during this COVID-19, and many have been related to food because my guess is, in your case, the meal you provide may be the best meal they get for the day.
That's right, and that's what our cook Bob would say as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bro, he's proud of that. And so, the other thing I wanted to ask you, and we're talking with Patrick Pleskowski from Grand Rapids Boys and Girls Club, is have you seen, as much as you can see from standpoint of in person, any impact regarding the kids and their mental well-being, either in stress or in other elements of how they're acting?
Yes. We had been in touch with some of our kids virtually throughout this time during the pandemic, and we did just reopen to smaller modified groups of kids back 2 weeks ago. And so really we're just starting to see the first effects. And, the first one is one that really makes sense. We definitely see a sense, an expressed sense of loneliness amongst the kids. Especially the preteen and teens, as they will tend to articulate that a little more. Mm-hmm. So for sure there's a profound sense of kind of loneliness and isolation. And of course, at that age, socialization, well, throughout all ages of childhood is so important in their development. And so they've really missed their peers. And so it's been important that we've been there and that we've been able to connect groups of peers virtually and now in the club. And we are seeing some, I guess, heightened emotionality in the younger kids. This is something that kind of pops up anyway. We don't think any kid is a bad kid, but kids show behavioral symptoms, usually of other kinds of stress and anxiety, and they just can't articulate it. And so we are seeing a little bit of that, but luckily we are, well-staffed right now, and thanks to the grant provided by the Children's Foundation, we're launching this new program to hopefully have more tools to be able to help those kids.
Great. And we're delighted that we were able to make the grant. Very impressed with the proposal. And so tell our listeners how the Boys and Girls Club in Grand Rapids is going to use this grant, what the program involves, and let's start from there.
Sure. So I've been in my role at Boys and Girls Clubs of Grand Rapids for about 18 months now, and early on I saw that there was a strong need. We have wonderful professional youth development staff who all come from different backgrounds, training, working with youth and helping youth, especially youth that need the most help. But I thought there was a bit of a gap in providing a higher level of support in mental and behavioral health for the kids who really need it. A lot of our kids experience, 1 in 4 kids nationally experience what are called adverse childhood events, right. A term defined by the CDC as an actual public health issue, a crisis. And so those are exposures to addiction at home, to domestic violence, to housing insecurity, food insecurity, all those kinds of things. And our kids experience those at a higher rate, I think, than the general population. And what those do is they result in kind of a constant level of stress and anxiety, and not only can that create mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and other things, but it also can bring with it all kinds of physical ailments later down the road, chronic diseases that show up at higher rates in communities of color and lower socioeconomic levels. So we've been thinking about this for a good long time, and what we're going to do is twofold, thanks to the grant that we received from you. One is we're going to be working with another local nonprofit called Whole Child that specializes in training adults that are working with children and other adults to recognize these signs of chronic stress, toxic stress, anxiety, depression, and then also equip the staff with tools to help deal with those symptoms, to recognize those symptoms for what they are, not bad behavior, but a symptom of a deeper issue, and then even further be able to then give those children actual tools to help them regulate some of that stress. And so that fits in very well with the kind of work we always have done, which, the most important thing we do is provide these kids with a safe space to be kids and to help them develop tools of resilience to be able to, hopefully overcome the obstacles that they're facing.
And that resilience is something that is extremely important. It's one thing identifying the issues they've faced. It's another thing helping them deal with that in a positive way. So that's great. And also, I believe Grand Valley State University is involved as well.
Yeah. And so that's another thing that's made possible by this grant. It's really important. And so we have, Grand Valley State has a very good Masters of Social Work program. And they have a real great commitment to being able to leverage their students and their focus on really actually making real change in the community, especially the communities that are most vulnerable. And so with them, we've got an MSW. She's effectively just graduated with her MSW, Master of Social Work, and she is going to be doing an internship for a full year and a half within the Boys and Girls Clubs. And then with that, she also has a faculty member with GVSU who's going to be her site supervisor and working very closely with her, who's a therapist already out in the community that has experience working with populations like ours. So the two of them together are actually going to be, working in the clubs and essentially just integrated in with the daily work of the club. There will be some specialized counseling if need arises, and then we can do that. But I think more importantly, our MSW intern, Marigold, is going to be actually working daily in the business of the club, so that she's actually gaining the trust, developing these deeper relationships with the children, and then through that, hopefully being able to then help those who maybe need the most help. So I think it's a really important aspect of it, and I know we're committed to building on that relationship with Grand Valley State University so that eventually we can work our way to always having an intern in each of our three clubs. And so I think that would allow us to really be there and support our kids and their development in a whole other way.
That's terrific. And one of the things that really excites me about this grant is the integration of Grand Valley State, the internship, the whole child relationship, Boys and Girls Club. That's really what we're all about, bringing and giving opportunities for organizations to bring groups together. And so that, to me, personally, is very exciting. And so I look forward to hearing how things go. And so we're going to check back with you and many months from now to see how things are going and find out what exactly you've learned. And so I want to thank you for all of your great work and for being on Caring for Kids. We're excited about our arrival in Grand Rapids. That first occurred a year or so ago with DeVos Children's Hospital, and now we're expanding more with you. So we're just getting started, and what we like to say, Patrick, is we're on the move, but now we're on the move together with the Boys and Girls Club. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Larry. We really appreciate all the support of the Children's Foundation and appreciate your really thoughtful and effective philanthropy. So thank you.
Yep, you're most welcome, and I look forward to catching up with you in the not-too-distant future. And that was Patrick Plaskowski from the Grand Rapids Boys and Girls Club. And coming up next, we're going to hear from Laura Graneman. Laura is Vice President of the Quicken Loans Community Fund. That's when Caring for Kids continues, right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
Had two great guests already, and we're going to have a third one, and that's in Laura Graneman. Laura is the Vice President of Strategic Investments at the Quicken Loans Community Fund, an organization she co-founded in May of 2016. In her role, Laura focuses on breaking down complex systems related to economic development, housing stability, and employment, including Detroit's tax foreclosure crisis, the mortgage market in the city, and creating education programs that prepare students for the 21st century jobs in Detroit. Laura was named a Crain's 20 in her 20s honoree in 2018, and her work has been featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Urban Land Institute, Fox News, and more. Wow. Laura has a degree in international development from Georgetown. So, Laura, welcome to Caring for Kids. And so tell us, read a lot about where the Children's Foundation are involved in changing the course, but tell our listeners about what changing the course is.
Well, changing the course is really an opportunity for the whole community to come together around bridging the digital divide. And the Rocket Mortgage Classic has been an absolutely fantastic way to both spotlight the city of Detroit on a national stage and also to help lead towards generational, long-lasting change. And that's what changing the course is all about. Changing the course to bridge our digital divide here in the city of Detroit. We know right now we've got over 100,000 families who do not have access to internet in their homes. And in an increasingly virtual world, especially today, we know that having access to the internet, having access to digital literacy programming, and having access to technology is not a privilege anymore. It is an absolute right. And so we're really excited to use the Rocket Mortgage Classic as a platform to be able to resource some critical digital inclusion initiatives.
Absolutely. And certainly the Children's Foundation, since March, since COVID-19 occurred, we've become more and more aware of this problem, this issue, particularly in our partners that we fund that normally provide services in person and right now don't do that. And so having the access that you mentioned is critical to these youngsters and their families. And so it makes perfect sense to me and to the Children's Foundation. And I commend you for doing what you're doing. I know it's more than 1 year of a commitment, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we know that this is a long-term problem, and all of our partners know that as well. We are going to be committed to this for at least the next 5 years. And really our goal is to make sure that everyone has access to digital literacy programming, technology, and internet within a 10-minute walk of their home in the next 5 years.
Yeah, terrific. And we're talking with Laura Granneman, who's Vice President of Strategic Investments at the Quicken Loans Community Fund. And so I congratulate you on the Rocket Mortgage Classic. It was terrific. The weather was great, a little warm, but the weather was great. The spots that I saw about changing the course and the digital divide breakdown were just awesome. And so I congratulate you and your colleagues for doing that in this unusual environment.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all of the work that the Children's Foundation is doing as well. I know that each and every one of your partners and each and every one of our partners are experiencing digital divide in a different way. Whether you're an organization that serves students or senior citizens, you're struggling with how to continue, helping to get the access to the resources that you provide through your client base. And we know that children are struggling to access the education they need, that senior citizens are struggling to stay connected with friends and family, that job seekers are struggling to stay connected to employment. And so it's all the more urgent of a situation in the time that we are living in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's certainly not going to go away anytime soon. And so tell us about the Connect 313 Fund. And I know our listeners are really interested to learn more about that.
Yeah, so the Connect 313 Fund is really the first big announcement as part of changing the course. We are able to utilize the funds that are coming from the Rocket Mortgage Classic and from changing the course to be able to launch a new fund called Connect 313. This is it's a partnership with the City of Detroit, with other funders around our community, with community leaders and community partners, and with United Way of Southeastern Michigan to actually create holistic citywide strategy around digital inclusion. What we know is that a lot of people are committed to digital inclusion work, and we're seeing really good initiatives happening in pockets around our city, really incredible initiatives. For example, like the Connected Futures initiative that the Quicken Loans Community Fund has been a part of. But what we know we also need in order to make those initiatives sustainable and really connect our citywide strategy is a citywide holistic lens on our digital inclusion strategy. So we need better access to data in terms of who has technology and who doesn't, who has internet and who doesn't. We also need to really make sure that our community partners are empowered as a part of the process. And we need to help to support and stabilize and build up neighborhood technology hubs so that our neighborhood community partners that act as these wonderful trusted spaces for our community members to utilize so that they are able to also offer really important and critical digital inclusion work, technology, digital literacy, and internet access for all of their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of our partners, which I mentioned, like Brilliant Detroit, Midnight Golf, Detroit Pal, so much now is going to be delivered. So much of their programs are being delivered via technology so that these kids that they serve, this needs to happen. And so, again, I commend you and your colleagues at Quicken Loans for doing this. And so what do you see as maybe 3 to 5 years down the line? How do you see the digital divide? And what would be your dream of how things are in 5 years?
Well, right now we're experiencing such a large gap in our digital inclusion. In the city of Detroit, we're actually the least connected city today. And what I would like to see is not just that everyone has access to internet in your traditional sense, but actually that we're able to sort of leapfrog ahead of some of our sister cities across the country. And instead of just, working to install infrastructure like every other city is doing, we're really focused on bringing together our community in order to provide these community safe spots that everyone knows that they can access all of this holistic programming. So I really think that the city of Detroit, because we are such a resilient city, because we have such a commitment from community leaders all across our city, I really think that we have this fantastic opportunity right now to continue to build momentum towards this bigger vision of the most connected city in America.
Yeah, well, that is a great goal, and we're going to hopefully help you achieve that. And again, we're talking with Laura Granneman from the Quicken Loans Community Fund. And one of the, I spent 26 years in higher education, and one of the things that we tried very hard to do was to get our faculty to use more online learning and things of that nature. And now it's happening primarily because of COVID-19, along with other good reasons. But kids in Detroit that are going to pursue higher education at Wayne State, University of Detroit, Mercy, wherever, a lot of their future education will be using technology. So in order to provide them the opportunity to continue their education, we have to accomplish what you're setting off to do. So again, it's extremely important for the future of these kids.
Absolutely. For children, for job seekers, for senior citizens, for our arts institutions, making sure that we're remaining connected to the people that we're trying to serve and to our communities is a critical piece of what we're trying to do in every aspect.
Yeah,
but especially, you're right, the student and educational component is so critical right now.
Right. And so anything else, Laura, you want to mention about the community fund? Any other things you want to mention now that I have you on the radio?
Well, I just, again, want to say thank you for all of the partnership and work that you guys are doing. As you know, we've got some mutual partners in Brilliant Detroit and in DPAL and in Midnight Golf, and we're so proud to be able to support the Children's Foundation to continue to build those digital literacy and digital inclusion efforts with those fantastic partners. Well,
great. And we are honored and delighted to be partnering with you on this, and the Rocket Mortgage Classic, Jason and Rob Kroll and others. So we're just getting started, as we like to say. And so I want to thank you for all you're doing, for taking the initiative to get this started, to using the Rocket Mortgage Classic to sort of kick off the Connect 313 Fund. And so thank you very much on behalf of the people of Detroit, particularly the kids.
Well, thank you very much, Larry.
All righty.
Appreciate the time.
Oh, you're most welcome. That was Laura Granneman from the Quicken Loans Community Fund. And coming up next, I'm going to fill you in on some foundation activities that are going to take place over the summer. So stay tuned.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Well, that was a great show. July edition of Caring for Kids was awesome. Thanks to our guests. And so the Children's Foundation continues to be very active in this environment that we've been in since March 15th or so. And a couple things I wanted to mention. Paul W. mentioned the golf outing, the Paul W. Smith Golf Classic. That's August 3rd, Detroit Golf Club. There's still opportunities to get involved, and that is paulwsmithgolf.com. And also you can join the Caring for Kids Club if golf isn't your thing. And then also our 4th annual Derby for Kids, which raises money for world-class cancer research at Mott Children's Hospital, the Children's Hospital of Michigan, Wayne State University, and U of M. We're going to hold that in person on Saturday, September 5th, along with the Kentucky Derby. And so we're really excited about that. And if you want more information, you can simply go to our website, yourchildrensfoundation.org. And then the Jamie Daniels Foundation, which you know, I hope, is all about helping people in recovery. They last year launched an annual roast of Mickey Redmond, and that was great and funny and successful. This year, it's going to be Scotty Bowman, the iconic NHL person who's won so many Stanley Cups as a coach and a general manager, I can't even remember. But that's going to be a virtual event now, and so sometime that will happen in the fall. And so the date hasn't been chosen, but I'll keep you posted on that. So we remain on the move. I thank you for listening, and as I like to say, indeed.
Caring for Kids with Larry Burns on WJR has been presented by the Children's Foundation.